Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy Derwin, and I'm here with Shane Buell. And today we're going to give some updates about the flood, the first one and the second one that happened in Central Texas. And then we're going to go into some information about the New Jersey and New York floods, and then touch a little bit on the flooding that happened in Chicago. So I'm going to start out with the changing in the number of missing in Central Texas. This seems to happen with these types of disasters. We saw it in Maui and we saw it in Helene. So on the 10th of July, this was the number 173 missing and 119 confirmed dead across the state. And then 5 days after that, so I think this was on the 15th, they changed the number of missing and it drops.
The latest death toll number from the July 4th floods indicate a total of 131 deaths across 6 counties in the Texas Hill Country and Central Texas. 106 in Kerr County. The number of missing people is lower. It went from 161 to 97 missing people in Kerr County.
So when I hear of the number dropping when it comes to missing, it's very suspicious because at that point, if someone is reported missing, it's not as likely that they're going to be found alive because that was already 6-7 days after the event. Also, the second flood that came in forced all of the rescuers and people that were doing the recovery effort out of the area, which is also makes it difficult to keep the numbers consistent. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about, do you want to talk about the floodgates, the dams?
Sure. All right, so this actually stems from a post that was made by Alaska Skywatcher, and he's talking about like all of the different things that could have gone wrong, but he especially mentions the hydrological aspects of the Edwards Plateau and the management of the dams that are there. And so I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to show some of it. You can pause it and read it if you like. But he talks about like the different dams that are located along the Edwards Plateau and how there was possible mismanagement. But when I looked into it, I found that these dams, they actually did wait until almost the last possible moment before they had to open their floodgates. So many dams will go between 96 and 99% of their capacity before they finally open the floodgates. And we see here, there's like 4 out of 7 dams that actually did release water downstream. But when they did so, I did find out that they did notify the correct officials downstream. However, those notifications did not necessarily translate into alerts. I'll show you the lake and river system here of the Guadalupe River. And they're shown 6 out of 7 dams here. And 4 of these dams actually did release water, and they did actually notify the officials downstream. However, there was some sort of disconnect between the notifications going out and becoming like code red alerts. So I had found out that there was no incident commander for at least like 5 hours. No one had actually been named incident commander, and there was no one actually in charge who was able to approve the code red messages going out. So that may be one thing that delayed the alerts. So it looks like there wasn't really mismanagement of the dam system, but there might have been some sort of mismanagement of the alert system.
And then we see that with other disasters, the person in charge of, sounding the alarm or activating the alert system is often not in town. So there's confusion, and often it leads to a delay, which also leads to more people losing their lives. Okay, we want to go into the strong movements.
Sure. Yeah. So one thing I'll show here is the Texas Strong sign that's in front of Donald Trump and Greg Abbott there. The strong movement is something we've reported on before, especially heavily in our book. We're not going to go too deep into that now, but they also have Kerr County Strong and Hill Country Strong here, which are all affiliated with the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. And this is very similar to the Hawaii Community Foundation, who ran the Maui Strong Fund. And let's see here. They, just like on Maui Strong, they did some pre-disaster fundraising. And when they actually activated this fund, I think it was on the morning of July 4th, they actually had $5 million ready to go. And I believe they have now raised over $30 million at this point. Now, this is a graphic from their site that tells how it works. So the donations that come in go to the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country, and then those are dispersed out to vetted nonprofits, which we've seen in the past, like Red Cross or the Maui United Way. These are basically sometimes disaster capitalist vetted nonprofits that are not necessarily handing out the money directly to the community. Whereas, we saw in Maui, only 5% of the money that made it to the community foundation, only 5% of that money made it to the community itself. So it's looking like, we have a similar setup as far as the disaster relief fundraising going on. And it's almost cookie cutter as to the way it happened on Maui.
Right. In Maui, the majority of it went to the construction of they call it workforce housing or low income housing. And also I did see a post, I didn't bring it up, but the money raised for the LA fire disaster didn't actually go to the people, or most of it didn't go to the people like they make it seem, but it's going to be filtered into the construction of low income housing. So it seems to be just kind of how things are done. But they make it seem like it's actually going to the victims. I personally know that in Maui, after the $700 of cash relief given at the beginning, most people haven't gotten another cash, donation or anything like that. A lot of people are wondering, where did all those millions of dollars go? And it's pretty standard from what we're seeing nowadays.
Right. And like you said about the redevelopment, we saw a lot of the money on Maui go towards that. And it turns out that, Kerrville also has plans for a smart city or a 15-minute city, as well as a $175 million natural gas power plant.
Okay, so I'm going to show some of this. I'll play the Trump clip because this is another thing that we've seen is like when people ask questions about, the missing dropping, the number of deceased dropping, or just questioning why things went wrong. This is a typical.
Is the press going to be respectful of this event, this horrible event, this horrible tragedy? Please, yes, go ahead, please.
Marissa Haas here with CBS News Texas. Several families we've heard from are obviously upset because they say that those warnings, those alerts didn't go out in time, and they also say that people could have been saved. What do you say to those families?
Well, I think everyone did an incredible job under the circumstances. This was, I guess Christie said, a 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000 years. And I just have admiration for the job that everybody did. There's just admiration. The only a bad person would ask a question like that, to be honest with you. I don't know who you are, but only a very evil person would ask a question.
Right, and that's basically what happens still in Maui. It's if you question why things went wrong, you're personally attacked for being disrespectful, or in this case, being an evil person for asking these questions, when in fact, by trying to find out, why things went the way they did, which in a lot of cases, it's not good, you're blamed for being disrespectful to the people that suffered.
Right.
Okay, here's Reed Timmer showing one of the rivers, and this is the second round. It says 27 feet.
I am standing over the Lampasas River that is nearing major flood stage. A 27 feet wall of water here, and it is pounding into this bridge right now. Law enforcement has just evacuated this bridge here as it is starting to get dangerous, becoming a safety hazard as the Lampasas River continues to rise out here. This is from double-digit rainfall once again upstream on very saturated ground across the Texas Hill Country, and we have got major flood stage here on the Lampasas River. Evacuations are ongoing, RV parks, everything all along this river that's getting flooded. Lampasas. The firefighters are working hard as well. And you can see this massive wave here right on the bridge. Debris coming down as well. All kinds of debris in this from all the flash floods accumulating last night. Big problems once again here in the Texas Hill Country. Lampasas River, 27 feet above normal right now, and you can see all the debris coming down the Lampasas River, just slamming into this bridge.
All right, and then this second one.
Yeah, so this is July 4th here, so you can see like just how much the water there is and how it's like sweeping away cars. These cars are just floating away like toys in a bathtub.
All right, now I'm going to show some footage from the 15th from New York and New Jersey, and I believe this was the same storm system. And this was shown all over. So the water is actually coming up from potentially blocked drainage systems. But they did report that this is from the water. So it could be the water fell and the drainage was working, against them. And this has happened before.
Yeah, we did see something like this during the Kona low that hit Oahu last year. And some of it may have been the sewage system getting clogged or overwhelmed, but I do think that some of that was water that was coming in from higher elevations, and because of the water pressure, it was actually pushing up at the lower elevations and coming up out of the ground.
Yeah, because I spent a lot of time in New York in the subways, and it rains a lot around this time. So I would think they'd have a better drainage system, but I guess the storm system was so large that so much rain was coming from other parts. And then this New Jersey area, I think two or three people did lose their lives.
Yeah, this is Route 22 in New Jersey, and I'm unsure of how many people lost their lives, but it was another deadly flood. And you can see just how rapid it is and how it's carrying cars away again. And people are trying to, rescue each other from the roads, because you can see just how overwhelmed the roads became and how the cars are just being swept away.
Right. And I think the water receded fairly fast with this one, and now they're trying to, fix things. Like I think a lot of people, their homes are seriously damaged. So yeah, it's really unfortunate when it hits like a metropolitan area that's so heavily populated.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to go to the Alaska Skywatcher?
Sure.
This wasn't just rain, this was an engineered saturation. The radar lit up with concentric electromagnetic ring bursts in the classic NEXRAD signature that we're all used to. And these signatures, these radar bursts, excite aerosols and amplify convection. We saw a moisture pipeline pulled from the Gulf aimed straight at the Guadalupe Basin, like someone flipped a switch on the storm grid. Across the western 2/3 of Texas, flash flooding and scattered storm clusters point to one thing. This was a coordinated atmospheric manipulation on a massive scale. So don't tell me this was just a freak storm. This was a technogenic flood event, a weaponized atmosphere used against civilians.
Okay, so what we saw there was rings.
All right. And then do you want me to play Dane or?
I was going to explain some more.
Okay. Sorry, you cut out.
Oh, okay. Well, so what we saw in that footage was some concentric rings in the San Antonio area. And I do believe that to be a klystron pulse, which was actually pulsing out in all directions. And that's why it created the rings. That's going to have a repelling effect on the air mass. And it's going to actually hold the storm back and keep it from getting to the San Antonio area. Now, we also have another clip with Dane Wigington, who goes into some more detail on this effect.
What kept that moisture, this is critically important, what kept that moisture precipitating in one spot was frequency transmission manipulation from the NEXRAD transmitter network. We recorded it. We recorded the same thing with Hurricane Harvey. And that's how they knew Harvey would end up where it did 7 days in advance and stay there for 3 days and dump 50 inches of rain, because the frequency transmissions, they have a repelling effect against the air mass and the moisture accumulation. And when you activate those transmissions all around that moisture accumulation, you hold it stationary and it precipitates out in one spot. And that's exactly what happened in Texas. When we see the frequency transmission interaction, holding that storm moisture in place, forcing it to precipitate out in one location, there's nothing natural about that. These are patented processes. It's not theory. It's not conjecture. It's not hypothesis. Nothing natural about that event. And let's look at Hurricane Helene. We recorded that as well. That's a very damning recording. In real time, we recorded those transmissions, the NextRad network, steering that storm where it ended up and holding it there to precipitate everything out. And we're dealing with those legislators too, Jimmy and Kurt, in the Carolinas.
What is the name of the network thing that you can get the data from? What is that called?
NextRad.
NextRad.
Exactly as it sounds. NextRad. And they will claim, just as they do with the HARP facility, just benign radar, nothing to see here. Yeah, sure, we're using 750,000 watts of power, but never mind that. This is just harmless radar. It's mind-numbing the way they try to skirt over
harmless radar. A microwave oven is a radar they put in a box.
Yes.
The guy that discovered that melted a candy bar cooked in his pocket by the radar dish, and that's how you learn it's a direct energy weapon.
Okay, and then just one more thing. I forgot to include it with the Chicago flood. This is from Into Thin Air, and this is a anomaly that he caught right before Chicago flooded. And you're going to see these storm cells develop after you see these beams.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Check this out near Chicago. This is how this started here before the flash flooding. I want you to watch how these cells form right here. Take a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells, almost like in a triangle. And there's one more ahead of it here. And then we have some interference and all that fun stuff going on. Wait till you see this. Watch the tower. Here's the tower right here. Each one of these blobs here is a NextRad radar tower. So I'm going to back up a little bit, watch all the action going on around here, and then watch where these cells pop up. It's very interesting. You're going to see the first one pop up right there at the tower. Boom. See that little dot right at the circle? And I'll bring the mouse back down. Check this out. Boom, boom, boom. And then look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these cells sitting right here, and then watch what happens. They all blend together, more interference, quote unquote, and then boom, there's your flash flooding going on right there. It's pretty wild how this all sets up and forms very quickly. Back here, we'll back it up a little bit. Take a look at this forming again. I'll bring it back a little farther so you can see the tower dot right there, and watch where this forms. 1, 2, boom, right there. First dot. Now watch all the rest of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They all flare up right here. And then even behind that, if I back up a little bit, you see a little front coming out of here, and you'll see storms starting to flare up right behind it, but these jump right out ahead. And you see them first right there, and then you'll see this whole line right here start forming storms right behind this front wall that you could see kind of flaring up there. Right there, boom. And then it sits right over Chicago for a few hours, causing the flash flooding. Unbelievable stuff. Please share this video. Talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye.
So with that one, it looked like they were really trying to pinpoint where it went, because that was a pretty small area. And I guess that's what you have to do to cause a urban flood, which is what we're seeing a lot.
One of the really strange things about the Chicago flood is that they barely got any rain in the suburbs, and almost all of the flooding occurred in the city.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that's going to do it. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do so before you leave, and like, comment, and share this video, especially with people that are not fully on board with what's really going on. And we'll see you all soon. Bye.